That's great.
the
Yeah, I was looking at your stuff a little bit. I guess you were you're a comedian with the comedian school or
yes, my title officially is wannabe.
okay.
I've taken some training and I've had some stage time opportunities, so I'm going to keep doing that as long as they'll let me go on stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth. Find one thing to move your business forward today with conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen and follow and subscribe on social media, Dear Business Coach pages and groups, Dear Business Coach podcast, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today.
Many stages that you can get on.
That's
That's what
right.
they say. So anyway.
Yeah, thanks for checking that out. That's encouraging. And thank you, Larado Robinson, for coming on the show. So let me say that again. Larado
Yeah,
Robinson, welcome to the Dear Business Coach
absolutely.
podcast.
Absolutely. Love the opportunity to be here and to talk with you today.
Yeah, you know what? I have a lot of different details about you, and where to start it was kind of what I was thinking about right before we could jumped on. I know that you are someone I can talk to as a coach. I mean, I'm using that word out of my own vocabulary. So you can, I want you to correct me about, any of these words that I'm using that I'm putting on you as titles. You're going to tell me exactly what it is you tell people you do. But I know that I can come to you for a couple of different things. And so today I was going to hope to get some background. But before I ask you about like leadership perspective and all that kind of stuff, I do want to highlight this is actually also kind of a local podcast, right? So I am
Yeah,
talking to you in Salem, Virginia. That's where my studio is today, where I'm working today. And I think you're in Salem, Virginia
I
today.
am. I am.
Yeah. And
Great.
this is important because a lot of what you do is locally focused. So tell me a little bit about how you and I got together today. What do you think? Well, how do you think we ended up here today?
Well, I have been speaking and training in leadership for quite some time, and I currently work in the water wastewater industry and well respected there, at least I hope so. And it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy leadership, and I got an email from you, and at that time, I thought, well, I'm kind of developing some things here in terms of a business and helping folks actually do some leadership training and things of that sort. So let me put this aside for a little bit, but come back to it. And I emailed you, and here we are today.
That is so impressive. I feel lucky. I feel very lucky, and
I
thank you.
appreciate
So
that.
you actually said something to me before, which is that you have, since you've started your professional career or your day-to-day professional career in wastewater management, I think you have always thought about impacting the people around you, and you have always thought about how am I able to leverage this side of me that's passionate about people in my day-to-day experience. And that is exactly who I'm looking to talk to on this show is how, I want to learn from you personally, Laredo, how you view what a leader does. And that's kind of a broad question. So to make it specific to you, I want to ask you, how do you do leadership on a daily basis?
Well, that's a big question. It's a lot. But for me, when I came up in consulting, I mean, I had some leaders, but not as pointed as I really desired. And eventually, I went to get a master's degree in organizational leadership, which really helped me understand more about how to lead. And the bottom line is with leadership, you have to develop relationships and you have to be self-aware. To me, those are the key things is being aware of who you are, because many times leaders don't understand who they are. And I actually ran into that. I at one point put out a little survey for my team and that blew up in my face. I was thinking that, oh yeah, I'm a great leader. I'm going to get high scores, and I didn't. And I was devastated and realized that I was not as self-aware as I thought. So when I was in graduate school, we had a capstone to do to close out our year or a couple of years. And I chose the topic self-awareness, and it blew my mind. It really did blow my mind. Just how self-awareness leads to self-management, social awareness, emotional intelligence. And as you understand those things and connect with folks, that builds the relationship in understanding yourself, but also understanding others.
Visit the deals page, dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com/deals. Get your coupon codes there for all of the retailers who support the Dear Business Coach podcast and are giving you a special discount for being a listener here. You are listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name's Elizabeth Walker and expert guests.
So relationship is core in my mind, as well as self-awareness and understanding who you are. Because in my mind, you cannot lead anyone until you learn to lead yourself. And if you don't lead yourself and grow yourself, you're not going to be able to help others to lead and help others to grow in who they are. So that to me is really the foundation of just the the main principles of leadership starts there. And then from there, of course, you can move forward as in terms of trusting and communications and things of that sort.
Mm. Well, I'm curious to know about when you chose your capstone in self-awareness, if you had your idea already sort of in place about what your work was going to show, what your work will state when you're done with this capstone project or time period, and then it's time to show your work to your peers and your professors. And what did you think you were going to find out?
Well, actually, I didn't know beyond understanding an assessment called Working Genius. I'm certified in Working Genius. I love it. And that core it, in delivering to groups and individuals has really opened their eyes to, wow, this is how I work best, and just that understanding of that. So I went into that thinking, okay, I kind of have an idea. But as I went through that process in writing that paper, but also I went to the Townsend Institute. Some folks may or may not know John Townsend, and he wrote a book called People Fuel. And one of the keys there is relational nutrients. And it's a process of walking through how you really have a conversation with folks to help them understand, uh, actually, to help you not step in and immediately tell them what to do when when they are asking for something, or just, maybe they were just venting. And the response is, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And you need to do this. Well, that book really helps you to understand the way not to not to do things and to work through. And it really changed my life in terms of how I communicated with my kids, especially. But when I went into this program, or at least the capstone, what you're asking about, I didn't really have any preconceived notions other than what I already knew. But after going through and really getting into an understanding of self-awareness, it just blew my mind. I mean, who knew that those who are more self-aware are more effective at their jobs? They actually lead more profitable companies as well, and they make better decisions. They're higher performers. They have better relationships, both professionally and personally, and they have more positive lives. One of the studies that really blew my mind is that parents who are more self-aware have more mature kids. I thought, wow, that's awesome. So I learned a lot, and coming away with not only my capstone but also the relational nutrients. I actually went back to my kids; they're adults at that time,
Hmm.
and just talked to them about what I learned, and this the realization that when they came to talk to me, and I just saying this, I would tell anybody who's listening to this right now in their marriages, this is what you need to do.
Hmm.
Is I would I went to them and realized that, okay, all this time they'd come to me, hey, dad, need to talk to you about this. What would be my response? I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer by training. So what do I want to do? I want to fix it, right? So I'd go into, well, have you tried this? Or, well, you need to do this thing, that type of thing. But as I really looked at it, I realized, let me just listen. Just listen. Nothing more. Just listen and acknowledge the things that they're saying. If they're hurting, acknowledge that. Different things that are going on, acknowledge their feelings and what's going on. And this can happen at work too with a coworker. And as part of that emotional intelligence, just understanding where people are and convey the good. Hey, you, as an example, you spoke to that person, and I know that was difficult. Good job. How do you feel about that? Just walking through that, not giving them advice or anything like that, but then walking through that process to the point of, okay, and I joke with a friend of mine that we do this. I say, I'm entering quadrant four right now. And quadrant four is where you give advice. And he will say, yeah, or well, not looking for that right now. Okay, we won't go there. So it really helped me to understand a lot about myself, a lot about other people, a lot about even those who follow those who are self-aware. They they just learn to be better leaders through having that person a as a mentor or a person that they're working with. So it did open my eyes to a lot of different things. And in fact, even in my research, Gallup agreed with everything that I came up with. I mean, they said that, I mean, we talk about how people are not engaged at work
Hmm.
currently. Well, those who are self-aware are 6 times more engaged than others at work because they understand themselves. They understand where they need to go with things. And I mentioned the quality of life, the relationships are 3 times better quality of life for these folks. So there's a lot of neat things that occur there. And in the business that I have, one of the things that I say is transforming self-awareness and purpose into personal and organizational excellence. Because once you start with self-awareness, you can understand more of your purpose, which translates to the excellence, whether it's you personally or even in your organization.
Visit the deals page, dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com/deals. Get your coupon codes there for all of the retailers who support the Dear Business Coach podcast and are giving you a special discount for being a listener here. You are listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name's Elizabeth Walker and expert guests. You've given me a couple of examples here of exactly what to use as a structure if somebody is coming to you and asking you, I'm running up against this challenge, or what do you think? Or I ran into this situation. And it's really, really uh, interesting. I almost said funny, or what coincidental, or some kind of word like that. That you said you brought up right away that you are using what you're learning, or did use what you learned with your family and immediate relationships in your personal life. And I often, well, specifically, I have recently told a business coach friend of mine, colleague of mine, I am looking at your work as something that I want to take into my personal life. Isn't that weird? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that odd? Isn't that silly? And that doesn't seem to be a blur for you. It seems to be a no-brainer. You look at the information and you think, oh yeah, this is what we're doing as people, learning to relate to one another. And so
Absolutely.
leadership in your life takes very specific tracks, but they're not separated, right? So one of the things that I think I struggle with is compartmentalizing too much between, oh, I'm good at this at work, but I can't do this in my personal life. I say that, that self-talk happens a lot for me. Exactly. I don't know how to do this at home, but I know how to do this well at work, or the other way. So,
Mm.
but in terms of pinpointing, what do I do in this situation? What do I say in this scenario? I can't really do that in my personal life. I get locked up or bottled up or something. And I can tell the reason why is because I need to look at it. I need to explore something there. And you kind of seem to be gravitating to that naturally. And you seem to sort of already be looking at, oh man, this is really valuable information. I want to make sure I am taking this into my, I want to take this information to the people that I care deeply about.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so what are you, what ha so was that a process for you, or did you already know to do that? How did that work for you?
I think when I went to graduate school, it just opened my eyes to some of the things I was doing that that had a negative impact on my personal life. And as I have walked through the process of growing as a leader, I realized how much impact it had me growing it in my individual personal life. A friend of mine once said, it's not what we do, but it's who we become. And that to me is such a neat concept because many people want to either, like you were saying, they struggle, they have their work life and they have their personal life. In my estimation, you need to be who you are. You just need to be who you are, whether you're at work or at home. And if there's things that are in either area that are an issue, you need to fix those, work on those, work to grow. But one of the things I keep telling all the folks I work with is you guys need to grow. read read books. Don't always just sit and watch TV or scroll through your phone and be on social media, but read. Now, I also tell people that I'm not the best reader. I
Mm,
remember coming up in elementary and high school, and I I wasn't the best reader. I struggled.
mm,
And I've never been diagnosed with dyslexia, but sometimes I wonder, I don't think I have it, but sometimes I wonder because I just plod through slowly.
mm,
But what I've done is I've grabbed some tools. AI is great now. It could read books for you.
mm.
And there's audio books out there. And every time I read a book, I have it help me go through that. And when I have the audio as well as that book in front of me, boy, I consume a lot more of what I need to consume. So I just think that the whole idea of bringing our lives at home and our lives at work together to be the one person that we need to be is important.
Mm.
I don't see that we should learn from both sides of that to bring into both sides of our of who we are and what we do.
Well, that is that sounds so nice, and it feels like also think to myself, oh my goodness, well, I have to rethink organizing, prioritizing. I wonder if I think so hard about getting ready for this interview, or is my schedule set up properly? Am I communicating to my team that's waiting for an answer from me for something? I'm concerned about that because I'm the only person who can do it so much that sort of I let other things go. And so something you said about whatever you need to do to address it, if there's something there, that takes a lot of bravery. And so um, I think that you know some that you are reflecting something to me about how you took your ideas and your passions. You said you went to get a master's degree. And I've thought about that. You know, if I put the idea of what I'm studying here into more of a formal framework for myself, you know, is that a helpful path if that's a structure that works for me, right? Maybe if I start listening to you and thinking about that seriously, maybe I'm inspired to study leadership. Maybe that's something that's interesting. I'll find resources there that I didn't know were available to me.
Well, actually, I would start here.
Okay.
Start with your values. What
Mm,
are your values? I believe values are the foundation of where you go. A mentor of mine who's, I mean, she's amazing, Marissa Nielsen. She's written a book called Live Life Rich. She said, when the vision is clear, the decisions are easy.
mm,
And that makes a lot of sense. So if we sit down and think about what are my values, and usually our values, we probably shouldn't have more than seven written down. But what are my values? Is it faith? Is it hope? Is it uh, performance? Whatever yours
mm,
are, write those down and make those the core of who you are in your leadership. Take those and really focus on those. Usually, what I tell people is get a deck of cards with different values, or look up online. There's a ton of websites that you can find 100 different values that you can take and just scan them, look at them, write down 20, and then reduce them to 10, and then reduce them to 5 to 7 that you really want. These are my values. These are my core values that I really want to stick to. Once you
mm,
have those core values, then you can say, all right, what's my mission? Where do I want to go from here? And for me, I wanted a master's degree in organizational leadership. It fit me. I wanted to know more about leadership. I wanted to train and teach and speak others about leadership
Mm.
and potentially coach folks in leadership. I wanted that. That was one of my values that was in there. Now, it wasn't written in that way, but it was one of my core values. And now I have self awareness, one of my values, and understanding more and more of who I am. And doing that, I'm reading books and helping develop my leadership more. So that's where I would start. Then go to mission, understanding, okay,
Mm.
where where do I want to impact the world? Where can I impact something bigger than me? And you have a podcast. You're trying to impact leaders everywhere with interviewing. That's fantastic. So obviously that's a decision that you have to make of, hey, is this something that is part of me that I want to move forward in? I believe it is, and that's great. And now you move through and say, okay, now that I have that, how do I set up a structure, the goals that I want, the systems that I want, things of that sort. And I, depending on, you pointed out some specifics of doing things here, and I'm the only one that can do certain things and things like that. I would recommend you read the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Mortell. Great book, really helps you understand things, and it follows a lot of what I read, which is what can I delegate? What can I eliminate? What can I automate? And those things to help you be more effective at what you do. And recently I went to a conference where he spoke, and one of the folks that I was there with said, I went home, I took what he said, and now I can go home on time because I've eliminated a lot of the things that I shouldn't have been doing, that I should have either passed off to somebody else or just not do at all.
Mm. Mm.
So,
Right. Now I can go home on time. That's good.
long answer to your question.
Yeah,
So
no,
hopefully
that
it wasn't
paints
too
a
long.
really, really great picture. I'm thinking about we're studying, we're reading books, we're going to conferences, we're looking up things, we're researching, we're getting academic, and what is it that you or I would really like to do and need to do is get home on time. So that's amazing. That's amazing. I think also you have dropped some really good reading material in here, and so and thank you for saying that to read or consume valuable material doesn't mean that I have to be a speed reader or that I have to be able to read quickly, or I just said that, right? Or that I have to be able to read like other people do, or so you're using other tools as well. I'm an audio person, right? I didn't really understand until recently. I have to listen to people talk to sort of absorb the background information. And so I love just reading a book by itself. And when I hear somebody has an audio version, I get really excited because that's I already know I'm going to experience that material in a different way and return to it several times over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's just so many tools now. I mean, AI, there's a software I use called Speechify. It's online, and you, I mean, if you're reading a book that's not, it doesn't have audio, you can scan some of the pages, you can upload it, and you'll have an AI voice read it. And you got the book in front of you. I mean, it's not perfect, but
Yeah.
you can just walk through and see and highlight, and it just helps absorb a lot more. So, and I just feel that growth is really, really important. But in that growth, you need to understand your values. You need to understand what direction you want to go, because Tony Robbins said success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
Hmm.
Well, if you're just doing stuff just to make more money, and I mean, I remember talking to some of my friends. Yeah, I hate my job and I hate doing this and I hate doing that, but I'm making a lot of money and I don't want to leave this industry. I'm
Hmm.
thinking, okay, I understand the money. That's you got the golden handcuffs on, and I hate that for you. But you got to be fulfilled in what you do. That's what we really want. So that's why I go to self-awareness and values and kind of move from there.
Yeah. Well, you you think that or I should say that I think value is that's easy. You named a couple of them. You said faith, hope, performance could be one, for example. There's a lot of ways that we could say the same thing over and over again, right? And I think for me, I could use all of those words and maybe a value. What's the definition of value is something that I don't really think I've asked a whole lot of advisors or leaders. What we hear people say add value. I know that's in sense
Mhm.
of creating a product or experience and in the sales world, but the idea of holding a value, observing a value for oneself. You suggested that I could take online assessments or use free tools to sort of talk about that. That's not something I've really thought about either. Is that something that's worth my time thinking about? Like, how do I define values? What kind of tools could I use to?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, the first thing you should do is download, just Google values
Hmm.
and get a whole list and pick what you want. Just pick those. But um, that kind of gets you started. But it's really what's inside of you. What's driving you. I mean, I look at you and I say, well, why are you doing podcasts? What Why did you pick a podcast on leadership? What drives you to want to do that? What are you trying to get out of it? What are you trying to learn? And as you read all these books, it's a way of just growing yourself and helping you to grow as an individual. Uh, One of the things that I hope to soon be getting more into is masterminds, where you grab a bunch of folks, you get together and you go through. It could be a book, it could be certain topics, it could be whatever. And you have individuals with different mindsets, they come from different backgrounds, and we all think differently. So when we come together and think through something, everybody gets something out of it and brings something home from it that can improve their life and grow their lives. So that I may have veered off of your question a little bit, but it really just trying to develop the values that help you fulfill your life is key. Also, and yeah, now I'm remembering a little bit of your question. Please go take as many assessments as you can.
Hmm.
Personally, I love Working Genius. I love Clifton Strong's, which is used to be called Strength Finders 2.0, and I love DISC. And I'm certified in DISC and Working Genius. I would be certified in Gallup's Strength Finders too if I really wanted to dig into that. It's just because it gives you such valuable information. Some people love Enneagram.
Hmm.
You can take that for free online. I believe there's a place that you can take disc free online, but usually, I usually am here to help people and actually provide them some feedback once they have their information. But it really helps you define. hey, I tend to be more inventive, or I tend to be more, I just want to get things done. I tend to be more, give me the details. I really need the details versus I'm a real people person. It just helps you understand yourself a lot better and also helps you understand other people. That's one of the big things because then you can see the folks that you end up working with. Oh, that's why they're that way. Or we're trying to make a decision and they keep bringing us back to all this detail. Oh, that's why, because that person, that's what they thrive on. So it just depends, but it's really good to understand yourself. And the more you understand yourself, then you can start understanding more people, which makes you better at relating with them and building relationships, even though they're so much different than you.
Wow. Oh, that's why. Yeah. So yeah, that right. So give yourself a little bit of relief and learn a little bit about how other people behave that different from you or different
Mhm.
than you. It's a fun exercise. And yeah, you're right. There's so many free assessments. This is a real this is a real pass that you're giving me here to just dive in this weekend. It's a Friday right now, and I don't think I have any appointments tomorrow. I just spend all day doing assessments. And it feels very self-indulgent. I immediately sort of feel a little bit like repulsed by myself, thinking I'm sitting around taking quizzes about me all day long. That is actually kind of exciting.
I mean, even have you heard of Arthur Brooks? He's the happiness guru. Think he's Harvard Business School. He teaches a class on happiness up there. He
Mhm.
even has an assessment,
Mhm.
and it's on happiness. How, but he talks about how you can be happier in who you are, and he gives the key things to help you be more happy as an individual. So anyway, that's another one that just came to mind.
Yeah. Well, you picked up what I was trying to say earlier on values, or what I was asking you for help with, which was something around, is it worth my time to study and go introspective into thinking about what are my values? How do I define values? And then you said, hey, by the way, there's a million gazillion free assessments online. That would be a good place to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what about you? I want to connect with you, and you said I know that you probably, if I start paying attention, I will end up in a mastermind group with you somewhere somehow. And I think you already done a little bit of some group work too, right? Aren't you already looking into how to um, work with people in your area or online as far as building connections with folks who want to do exactly that?
Yeah, one of the things that I am getting ready to start actually with the folks that I work with here at my where I work is to do some leadership training with them.
Hmm.
And I'm excited about that. I'm developing a program for them right now and also available for others out there who want to have that leadership development. Right now, a lot of what I'm doing is because I'm in the water and wastewater industry, there are a lot of different conferences that I go to. I will always submit a paper, and it's
Hmm.
always on leadership.
Hmm.
And the nice thing I've heard back is folks that have come back and said, Laredo, I've learned so much from you over these years as I've come to your classes. And there's one conference that I go to of a lot of local folks around here, around the Salem Roanoke area. I walk in and they say, Laredo, when is your talk today? And I'll tell them, I think it's at such and such a time. And they'll say, it doesn't matter what it's on, I'll be there. Like,
Nice.
you don't want to know what it's on.
Right. No.
So it's really encouraging. But even on my website, I have uh, some folks that have said what they say about what I've taught them. In fact, one lady I started was right before class. I saw her, and she had previously talked to me about how she was really in a horrible situation. She was a leader in an operations area and struggled with was one individual that just she could not corral in. And of course, it was difficult for them to hire. So she didn't want to fire him because they knew had to have him there. But he was just a difficult person to work with. And so we talked a little bit about it. And I guess a couple of years later, after I taught a few of these, they're not classes, but more presentations. But they're, I like to add value, like you said, to teach folks.
Yeah.
I went up to her and I said, "Well, how are things going?" She says, "Oh, like Laredo, you won't believe it. I've all the stuff I've learned. You gave me the boldness to approach him and work through a lot of this, and things are great right now."
Mm.
And you don't know what that did to me. That really touched me in knowing that I've been able to help people in that way. That was just it blew my mind, but it was amazing to hear that I was touching people in that way.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing that. It is really, it's really challenging to be able to share what nice things other people have said about you. And somebody has been trained, you've been self-training or somebody's been training you to talk about yourself when you come on the podcast. It's hard to get people to do that unless they've been reminded somewhere. Yeah, you have to, let me know. That's a really good story. You're right. And you actually are reminding me of what you said earlier. Some of your verbiage there about your colleague said that she had the boldness to approach somebody, and that was huge for her. You used that type of phrasing earlier when giving someone a response in terms of, "Hey, I noticed you talk to this person you didn't want to talk to." I don't know if you were talking to a colleague or maybe that was a conversation with a child of yours or maybe an adult child. But that could be a situation I could see myself in is using that exact type of phrasing. Did it sounds like you got a chance to have this conversation with somebody that was challenging for you or you were nervous about. How did that go?
Mhm.
And that's a way for you to be a sounding board. You didn't say you need to do this. You didn't say I think you should do this. You didn't say, well, you know what I. That's clearly something that you have been using frequently or passing along to others, teaching others. Yeah, so that's really good advice too. Is going to a conference. You said I always submit a paper. What genius. Say I always have something that I want to share and be ready to share something.
Oh,
That,
believe me, all my papers aren't accepted.
okay.
So,
So there that's also good to know.
yeah, yeah. So, but I like people and I want to add value to people. I mean, that's really the core of what I desire to do. I want to help people. I want to add value to people, and I do my best to do that. And by the grace of God, He's allowed me to have the voice to do that in some ways and to help others. And I just like to jump in and do what I can to help folks. So hopefully, this podcast helps folks as well in terms of understanding and learning more about leadership.
Yes. Well, and selfishly, right, I am learning here from you right now. So thank you. This has been a fantastic session. I think where can I connect with you? I would like to go to your website. Say your website.
Yeah, if you go to my website, it's basically my company is Global Purposes and purposes with an S. So if you just go to globalpurposes.com, just one word, globalpurposes.com, and there is a Let's Get Started button. It'll take you to a page that tells you just to fill in your information, and that information will be emailed to me, and I'll reach back out to you. If you rather just email me, you certainly can do that. It would be the easiest one because people spell my name wrong sometimes, but L Robinson at globalpurposes.com, and that'll come to me as well.
Awesome. Globalpurposes.com.
Yeah.
Larado
And
Robinson.
it's interesting how that came up with that name because sometimes I'm like, do you like that name? No, I don't really like that name. But then I think about it and well, yeah, I have a desire to have a global, not only one purpose, but multiple purposes for multiple people globally. So that makes sense. I mean, I came up with this long time ago doing something else.
Mhm.
And so it just kind of fit with what I'm doing now. And I hope that one day I can touch people globally. That would be fantastic. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but
Mhm.
uh, and I'll mention one other thing I had mentioned about uh, my reading and how it's never been the best, but how I've been able to grow through learning from those gurus out there who have come up with great stuff.
Mm.
Well, if you really dig and look, you'll find out that most of these folks that write these books, there are some who truly write their own books. What they'll do is they'll sit down with a ghostwriter. They'll tell them all the concepts that they have, and the ghostwriter will write the book. It's and that blew my mind when I first heard that. Even I'm trying to remember the writer who was really popular with these mystery things. He actually is to the point now where he's hired a whole bunch of writers and they'll sit down and develop the concepts. He'll be out doing his things to bring in some ideas and they'll write the books, but his name will be on them. Grisham. I think, yeah, Grisham. And it blows my mind. It's like, well, anybody really wants to write a book, they certainly can. It's not that you have to have it all together. As long as you have the concepts, you can do it. So,
It is so fascinating, and you're right. I have had that same or similar feeling of, oh, you're kidding. Is that
yeah,
what? Wow.
so yeah,
Oh.
I had no idea, but it's fascinating. Yeah.
Well, I think you point to something really important, which is if you dig a little bit, if you dig a little bit, if you dig a little bit. Well, I would, yeah, I encourage folks to dig on your website, Global Purposes. And you know what? We are on an international podcast today. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Hopefully it touches some lives.
Thank
And my
you.
website's pretty simple. It's just a page and then uh, the other page that basically you can send me your information. I'll be glad to send you what I can. I'm going to try. I did develop a list of 5 core leadership principles for it was for water operators at the time because they have to communicate. I mean, it's a matter of public health that water operators get clean water to customers. And so I had a presentation and I wrote something and gave it to them. And I'll be glad to send that to anybody who wants that
I do.
with some of the core principles. So yeah, go to the website, send it in, and we'll go from there. And some of the stuff is not what we talked about today, but that's okay. Now, you
Hmm.
want something else from me? Let me know. I'll see what I can pull together for you.
Okay. Yeah, I will. So I want to send you an email after we're done here to actually ask you for another interview at your convenience because I do have some other things to ask you about.
Okay, sure.
Well, let's see. So, right. So globalpurposes.com, and I actually don't know what time it is. I know you have other people to help and talk to. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll talk to you soon.
It was my pleasure. I really appreciate it. And you keep your podcast going. I know you're excited about it, and that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. I appreciate it. Yes.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Mhm. You've been listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name is Elizabeth Walker, producer and host of the Dear Business Coach podcast. Music by Stones Mayo. Social media by Meenakshi Bensal. Follow and subscribe now. Thanks so much. You are a superstar.